Hello and welcome to the autumn assessment video for reception. To help you get the most out of this video, we suggest you have a pen and paper ready as you may want to take some notes or record any ideas or actions that you want to follow up with after watching. There will be times when we ask you to pause the video for reflection. This may be for yourself or with your early years team or your senior leadership team. Let's start by thinking about your summer data. Firstly, thinking about what worked well. What did you do that had the biggest impact for your children? What would you do differently? If we think about transitions into reception, what are your challenges around transition and sharing information? What do you do with this information once you have it? If you have a school-based nursery, did you talk to the nursery staff about the children's strengths, interests and strategies to support them to settle? How have you implemented this since your new children joined you? What did their summer data tell you about them? What changes do you need to make in terms of your curriculum and provision for them in the autumn term? Pause the video now so you can reflect on these questions and, if appropriate, discuss this with your team. As we start this year with a new cohort of children, it gives us time to reflect and review, but also to look forward to ensure we offer the very best for our youngest children. Research has never been clearer. A child's early education lasts a lifetime. Securing a successful start for our youngest children, and particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, is crucial. So, let's do a little bit of reflecting here in Derbyshire. Good level of development outcomes in Derbyshire have continued to stall this year, increasing by 0.1% from 66.8% in 2024 to 66.9% in 2025. 66.9% of children achieved a good level of development in Derbyshire, 1.4% lower than the national average of 68.3%. This is the equivalent of 105 fewer pupils in Derbyshire achieving a good level of development compared to the national average. Girls continue to outperform boys, with 73.9% of girls achieving a good level of development compared to 60.3% of boys. Nationally, girls achieved 75.4% and boys achieved 61.6%. Whilst girls have outperformed boys in the good level of development in Derbyshire, which follows the national trend, the gap between boys in Derbyshire and nationally is smaller than that seen by the girls. 47% of disadvantaged children in Derbyshire achieved GLD compared to 51.4% nationally. This is 4.4% below national, and the gap has increased by 0.8% compared to 2024. Disadvantaged girls in Derbyshire achieved 55.6% compared to 59.4% nationally. This is 3.4% below national, and the gap between Derbyshire and the national has increased by 0.3%. Disadvantaged boys in Derbyshire achieved 39.1% compared to 43.8% nationally. This is 1.5% below national, and the gap has increased by 1% compared to 2024. Children with EHCPs or SEND support, which make up 650 children, achieved 26.2% compared to 22.3% nationally. This is above national by 3.9% and an increase of 4.1% from 2024. Your summer data is a good place to start. Have you taken time to analyse this fully? Consider what this data tells you about your most vulnerable, your early years pupil premium children, your SEND children, children with speech, language and communication needs, boys and girls, children with EAL and your summer babies. how many disadvantaged children achieved a GLD? How does your percent compare to national and Derbyshire? What does this mean for you as a school? Reflect on your strengths and successes for each area of learning and think about how many of your children had a GLD. Is it in line with national? Who have you shared this information with, or who do you need to share this information with? You may wish to pause this video now to think about this further. So, thinking about the recent intake of children you've had in your class, it is worth taking time to reflect on what you know about your new children. You might wish to make notes in response to these question prompts. What do your assessments tell you about the needs of your new children? What strengths do they have? What areas for development do you need to focus on? Have you got a group of children who need a strong focus on the prime areas this term in order to set them up for later success? Is this informing your curriculum? Is this informing the resources and provision that you are offering? The important thing to observe initially is children's readiness. What are the children's needs as they come through the doors? Some children will need to focus on those prime areas of learning, particularly developing those gross and fine motor skills before they are ready to hold a pencil. As a team, how are you pulling together all your knowledge to create a holistic picture of each child? How are you sharing this with part-time staff? Make sure that all your staff are aware of your most vulnerable and disadvantaged children and what support they need. As a staff team, ensure that there is consistency in expectations and routines, and that all staff have opportunities to teach in provision and engage in high-quality interactions. What have families shared with you that you can use to support you? What cultural capital have they shared that you can use to inform your teaching? What is your plan for sharing the information across your team, including the wider team, including your senior leadership team and governors?
As you enter the autumn term, the choices and decisions that you make will impact on the children's end-of-year outcomes. Building on strong foundations, thinking about those prime areas. Remember, don't overcrowd your curriculum. Carefully organising enabling environments for high-quality play. You will already know lots about your children and their needs from your on-entry baseline assessments. Use this to create your enabling environment. Be flexible and adapt your provision based on your children's interests. For example, if your children are interested in ladybirds, provide more opportunities and resources to extend this learning, to be able to have those back and forth conversations. Thinking about how you help children to learn using a mix of different approaches, including through child-led play, modelling, by observing each other, and through guided learning and direct teaching. Reflect on how the children's learning is supported by all staff, including teachers and teaching assistants, within your continuous provision. How do you decide as a team who you will be supporting or challenging within that continuous provision? Do adults move to support those children who will be your most vulnerable? It is important to think about your daily routines and timetable. What are your non-negotiables? But also be creative and reflect on how things can be changed to support the children. Do modifications need to be changed to the timetable this year? Look at your structure of the day. Do children have opportunities for extended, uninterrupted play that supports deep level learning throughout the day? Are you able to support and challenge that play? Are you available to work with the children within the continuous provision? How do you decide the best place for your adults to be deployed? How do you make sure that the most vulnerable children are supported within continuous provision? Do you reflect and change the resources that are available? And is key vocabulary explicitly planned, taught, and reinforced by all staff in context throughout the day? Being proactive to support and challenge the children is so important. Sometimes we must be brave to do things differently because it's what the children need rather than because we've always done it this way. Get it right for the most vulnerable and you will get it right for everyone. Let's move on to thinking about your curriculum. A curriculum is what you want children to learn in the time they are with you, and it is based on what the children already know and can do. It is important that your curriculum is built from your current children's starting points and allows them to do more and remember more. It is important to reflect how you get to know your children and families and how you use this information to inform your curriculum. This is often referred to as cultural capital. When you understand your children's cultural capital, then you can design your curriculum to give your children the best possible start to reception. Ask yourself, what do my children and families need the most? For example, some children may have had limited life experiences. And what can you do or provide to help them have more enriching experiences? Funds of knowledge refers to the skills, practical knowledge and understanding that children have gained from their early experiences within their family and wider community. Children will arrive at your setting with diverse and rich cultural experiences, some which may be very different from your own. It is so important to recognise these, building upon them to make learning more meaningful and relevant to their lives. Considering funds of knowledge can build stronger connections with children and their families and bridge the gap between home and school. Remember that your curriculum is yours. It belongs to you and your children and should focus on what is going to have the biggest impact on your children. You may wish to pause the video to reflect on these questions a little further. If you feel that there is not enough time to deliver your curriculum, take the time to review it and decide which parts of it you want to keep and which parts do not work for the current needs of your children. Your curriculum should be flexible and adaptable, so it is okay to change your mind when it no longer works for your children. Give yourself the time to really look and understand what children are doing within your provision. Is your curriculum meeting their needs? Your curriculum intent, that's what you want the children to learn, may change as you find out more about the children. Curriculums need to be built on a progressive model so that children have the necessary skills, experience, and knowledge to make sense of their new learning and retain it. If curriculum is something that you would like to explore further, our training on creating your unique curriculum, which will be available during the second half of autumn term, could be for you. Please scan the QR code at the end of this video for more details. Let's move on to think a little bit more about your learning environment based on your assessments. Some top tips for you now. Firstly, adjust your environment to help it support the children's current area of need. Analysing your assessments will give you trends and patterns. Which area of learning has the most children working at age-related expectations. And which area of learning has the least number of children working at an age-related expectation at this point of the year? This will be your priority. For example, if you've highlighted physical development as an area that you must prioritise within your curriculum, what adjustments are you going to make to your environment that really target that physical development? For example, could you add items such as mops outside to help their elbow pivot? Can you incorporate more fine motor opportunities? Top tip number 2. Think about how to make your environment work as hard as it can. Can you add in maths and mark making opportunities across your provision to support all your children? For example, adding notepads and a clock into the home corner. It is worth considering if you need a designated mathematics area, as maths is everywhere. It is also worth thinking about removing your chairs at your Play-Doh or malleable area, as this helps to strengthen children's pivots in preparation for writing later in the year if they can stand. Top tip number 3. Use open-ended resources across your environment. Open-ended resources allow for a wealth of possibilities and allow your children to express their creativity. Think about the kind of resources that you are providing. Could you provide children with various pieces of fabric instead of dressing up clothes? A piece of material could be a vet's outfit, a cape, a cloak, a doctor's outfit, a dinosaur's outfit. The possibilities are endless. By using open-ended resources, you are supporting your children to strengthen their learning, and it helps keep your workload manageable instead of changing resources every few days. It also helps to engage the children in critical thinking and deeper learning. Top tip number 4. Create effective indoor and outdoor provision. Try wherever possible to facilitate free flow for your children. We will all have children that thrive on being in your outdoor learning environment, and we need to provide opportunities for children to access that indoor and outdoor provision every day, regardless of the weather. Make sure that your outdoor provision is not simply your indoor provision taken outside. Think big, loud, and messy for your outdoors, and provide opportunities that you know your children need to make progress. A reflective question for you now. Do you ensure that there is a balance between children accessing indoor and outdoor learning opportunities? Let's explore how we can support you further. Did you know that as part of your core package for school support, you can use one of your visits from the Early Years Improvement Team? This will be bespoke and tailored to your needs. Did you also know that you can access training via our Eventbrite page or via Derbyshire S4S? There are lots of series that you can see there on screen. Within our leadership series, we have Leading from the Start, Igniting Your Early Years Journey, Leading Change in the Early Years, Coaching and Mentoring in the Early Years. We also have things such as Meeting the Needs of 2-year-olds. We have the ECAM assessment tool and support package. We have Developing the Foundations, Maths in the Early Years. If you're new to the EYFS, then why don't you attend the Introduction to EYFS, those principles into practice? And in the summer term, our popular face-to-face agreement trialling events, making those robust and accurate judgments for the EYFSP, will also be available. Please scan the QR code, which will take you straight to S4S, where you can book your training. When it comes to your next data capture point, it is important to review the progress of all children from their starting points. A focus on the group of vulnerable children that you identified at the start of the year should be a priority. Use this data to support you in planning for adapting your curriculum, your timetable and provision. This is following a plan, do, review cycle. Many of you will be assessing your children at the end of the autumn term. Think of this as your assessment cycle. You have your data from your assessments and now it is time to analyse it, looking for those patterns and trends, considering what is it telling you. Some reflective questions for you now, and you may wish to pause the video as you work through these. Are prime areas strong, or do they need more time to be fully embedded? Is your curriculum broad and balanced? What progress have your most vulnerable children made? Which children are not on track at this point of the year? And how are you narrowing the gaps for those children? What adaptations need to be made for all children to make progress? What are the children's current interests and how can you use them to move your children's learning forward? And what is going to have the biggest impact for your children? Who have you shared your children's progress with? Remember to only record and collate information that directly has an impact on the children. Your observations and talking about the children, that professional dialogue, is part of this process. Remember to share the progress of the children that are on track. Why they are on track is because your curriculum is meeting their needs. Also share how you are supporting the children that are not on track and what you intend to do to ensure that these children will be on track by the end of the year. For further support and training, please scan the QR code on screen to visit the Early Years and Early Years SEN team Eventbrite training page. We hope that you found this video useful and look forward to the spring video.